What's up, everyone? It's Caddy with Money Vesting. So, bringing you the latest with the banking crisis. JP Morgan is helping First Republic Bank get back on its feet. We earlier heard that First Republic Bank had inflowed close to $30 billion from 10 different banks. And literally 40 minutes ago, there was a prepared statement released by the Treasury Department Secretary Janet Yellen, which is going to be read at 10 a.m. Eastern. I will be actually live to cover that. And Janet Yellen is going to be speaking in front of the American Banking Association. So we're going to be talking about all of that, and Bank of New York Mellon could be under some problems as well because of some charts suggesting that they also do have a lot of uninsured deposits, and they also do have market values of their assets below certain book values. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Find it helpful. If you do, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you're just joining us for the first time, hit that notification bell so you want to keep up to date with what's going on with all of this. And link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining us. Of course, getting access to all the binds alerts, options alerts, trade ideas, swing trading ideas, and all the private videos and lectures, and a lot of other benefits as well. So link's going to be down below. So this is going to be the Americans Bankers Association. So again, Janet Yellen is going to be talking at around 10 a.m. Eastern. I will be live to cover that, and we'll go over exactly what she said in just a minute. But let's just talk about what's going on with banks. I saw that on Twitter. Somebody posted this on our Discord as well. And we are now playing bingo with all the banks. And so far, we've got Silicon Valley Bank, Credit Suisse, Signature Bank, and Silvergate. And of course, First Republic Bank is obviously very much on a crippling position. Not really terrible, but it's definitely getting a lot of help from JP Morgan and some of the other banks as well. And BNY Mellon, I feel like not a lot of people are paying attention to their current situation. So this right here was another chart that I shared in my other video, which Michael Berry tweeted, which I think was super helpful in getting an understanding of, okay, where are certain banks located on this quadrant? In other words, if they are on the top right, which is probably the most risky quadrant to be in, because not only do you have above median, above average, so to speak, uninsured deposit base, but you also have more losses when it comes to your assets or securities on the balance sheet where the market value is with respect to the book value. Now, BNY Mellon is not on this spreadsheet. Maybe they were not part of the data set or the calculations, but I found another uninsured deposits by bank tweet, which I think was super interesting to look at. And again, I pointed this out very briefly in my other video. I don't know if you caught it, but I pretty much mentioned in my other video where we talked about the bank's unrealized gains and losses of uninsured deposits. We already talked about how Silicon Valley was, in a pretty terrible situation. But if you go across the board, right? So if you simply go like around here, let me just bring that up. So if you simply just, I don't know if I can draw here. Hopefully I can. Let me see. So this right here is Silicon Valley, of course, right? So if you simply draw a straight line up, let's do a better job in drawing a straight line. This is Silicon Valley Bank. Anything to the right pretty much suggests that the uninsured deposits are higher. And this right here, the little dot you see, is BNY Mellon, right? So again, if you come back to this spreadsheet or this list, BNY Mellon at over 97%, which is much higher than Silicon Valley Bank at the time of failure, 94%. State Street at 91%. Signature Bank, which obviously went under receivership, 90%. And then we've got Northern Trust. We got Citigroup, which is in SIB, so systemically important bank. So the government's not going to let that one fail. HSBC, we got 73%. First Republic, which obviously is struggling at the moment, 68%. And then East West Bancorp, 66%. Comerica at 63%. So there are now total $8 trillion in uninsured deposits in the U.S. Roughly 40% of all deposits are currently uninsured in the U.S. Think about that for a second. Almost half, not nearly half, not 50%, but 40% of all deposits across America are uninsured. That just goes to show, that just tells you the gravity of the situation here. And not to mention that $2 trillion already in terms of market value of all of these assets are underwater with respect to their book values as well. So JP Morgan advising First Republic on strategic alternatives, including a capital raise. And, again, they pretty much had $30 billion inflow into First Republic last week. JP Morgan, including other 10 banks, which has suffered, from large outflows in the wake of the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. First Republic Bank has. And the move was meant to shore up the confidence in First Republic and the regional banking sector as a whole. But First Republic's stock has continued continued to fall. So if you come over to this screenshot, where does First Republic end up being? It's right over here. It's in the top right quadrant. So these are the companies that we really have to pay attention to. And I'm not sure why Bank of New York Mellon is not part of this, BNY Mellon, but and if you simply take a look at the list itself, they're also at risk. But a lot of it also depends. So, for example, in this one over here, we've got BNY Mellon, more uninsured deposits, and a loss, market value loss, which is actually quite similar to that of City National and Comerica and U.S. Bank National Association. So not as much as Bank of America. So we're looking at negative 4% for BNY Mellon, but definitely in somewhat in line with, I'm trying to find First Republic here. So there we go. We've got First Republic Bank. So First Republic Bank, which is at a much better situation than that of BNY Mellon, is actually struggling at the moment, right? That's something to think about because it not only has as severe losses as of at the end of 2022 with respect to BNY Mellon, but its deposit base is also not as much uninsured as a BNY Mellon, which is currently, over 97%, much worse than Silicon Valley Bank, and losses that are much worse than First Republic Bank. Just keep a close eye, just giving a little bit of a warning here ahead. If anybody, is looking into BNY Mellon, or is anybody in BNY Mellon kind of just has deposits in there, obviously be careful. Anyway, Yellen says U.S. will intervene if needed to protect smaller banks, or she's kind of backpedaling on what she said in front of the U.S. Financial Services Committee last week, which we also talked about. But this literally came out 40 minutes ago. I cannot stress enough how fresh this is. Again, you'll notice that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen will say on Tuesday that the U.S. government could repeat the drastic actions it took recently to protect bank depositors if smaller lenders are threatened, and our intervention was necessary to protect the broader U.S. banking system, and similar actions could be warranted if smaller institutions suffer deposit runs that pose the risk of contagion. And U.S. authorities took extraordinary steps earlier in March to bolster confidence from the failures of Signature and Silicon Valley Bank. Regulators guaranteed insured and uninsured deposits at two institutions, and the U.S. Federal Reserve launched a new backstop for lenders to help them meet deposit and withdrawals. We know that the swap lines are open. We know the Federal Reserve is opening a new program, bank term funding program. They're pretty much taking all their bank's garbage in the tune of face values of these securities and lending out all this money. And the moves were designed to stem the flow of customers taking refuge in banks seen as too big to fail. And by Friday, Treasury officials were declaring that deposits at small and mid-sized banks had begun to stabilize as well. And still, U.S. officials have begun studying whether they can temporarily expand federal deposit insurance to cover all deposits. That's one thing that they are kind of debating at the moment. What is the right steps? What are the right approach in order to move forward, whether it's to deposit, insure all deposit base, or whether to go out with some limits, and what's the best solution out there at the moment. And again, we'll be kind of listening into what she has to say at around 10 a.m. Eastern. I will be live to cover it. Obviously, if you want to, subscribe and hit that notification bell, do that. And at the moment right now, if you take a look at the markets, FAS is pushing higher. We do have First Republic also rallying on this news that JP Morgan stepping in. It is green very much over 18, almost 18% after having a brutal day yesterday. And then if you take a look at BNY Mellon, so Bank of New York, Mellon, and that's going to be BK. We are currently still up 2.2%. It hasn't really seen a pretty substantial sell-off, but from 51, it is only down 15%. Just keep a close eye on this, definitely, with respect to how it ends up doing over the course of the next few days and few weeks. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated with everything that's coming out. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about the situation right now and how it's developing? As always, if you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you do join our Discord and our Patreon. If you want to show support, consider joining. The link's going to be down below with a 16% annual discount. So always happy investing. I'll see you all in the next video.